connect to our breath. Allowing the hands to relax. Allowing the shoulders to soften. Softly spreading the bones of the foot, the long bones of the foot. We can take our time doing some alternate nostril breathing today. So we're going to do this in a step series. First, inhale to exhale. So the pattern is in through a nostril, out through the other nostril. And then in, out through the other. There's no count. There's no holding for this one. The touch of the finger to the nostril is exquisitely light. Probably one of the more challenging aspects of this is letting that arm, that elbow, that hand is positioned before your face to relax. Elbow relaxes down, the shoulder relaxes down, the hand offers a light touch. And these mucosa folds in the space of the nose, the concha, I believe. I get a sense of the nature of those membranes. I get a sense of if they're dry membranes, inflamed. You just start to sense with the airflow where these membranes are. Have a direct filter funnel to the flow of breath. using the breath, the air molecule, to feel the space of the nose. Feel where the palate is, where the cartilage of the nose, the space in the nostril, the membranes, the sinus cavity. You start to get a sense like you're mapping in a sense, it's mapping a cave. How near to the eye does breath get? How near to the brain can you sense your breath? It's the quality of mucosa tissue and lining by the near the tonsils, esophagus, soft palate. The next step of this is to add a suspension. I'm going to use the word suspension different than hold. For this suspension of breath, both nostrils closed. And to me, I'll use the word hold when we use throat closure or what's traditionally called bandha. You don't have to use a closure, constrictive technique of the throat. Just inhale, suspend, exhale. Still no count. finish the round that you're on, do one more. How do we breathe so that the bones of the palate and the nasal and the skull can move? You might even hear them or feel them move. If you need to switch the legs, go right ahead. I'm going to take the arm through two different positions. We're familiar with each of them. One is this thumb down, bicep down, or internal rotation. This is how we would start to turn the arm if we were going to reach behind us in a, say, an interlock. And the other one is with the arm up, the bicep face back. So I'm going to take the arm through these two positions, out to the side and above. So the bone is spiraling and we'll be breathing along with it. We'll start when I get a sense of the inhale. I draw the arm to vertical, almost like we're preparing for a side bend. And then exhaling, I'm letting the arm kind of move out to the side, rotating as if I'm preparing for internal. So inhale is the up move. The exhale is the out to the right, internal rotation. I don't have to move my head or neck, so if you find yourself pulling your head away from the arm, not necessary. These shoulder muscles will get plenty warm in just a few breaths. And just look for that smooth path. So if you've had you have some scar tissue or some tightness or lack of glide in the shoulder socket, just look for the smooth going motions where the joint can feel spacious. A couple more here. As that joint and those muscles start to warm up, you notice the spectrum of breath, the broad spectrum of breath changes. You start to inhale more deeply or exhale more thoroughly. release. Give that arm a rest. If you need to switch the cross of legs, go right ahead. I'm going to check in on the other side of the head. I'm ready to inhale. I'm going to reach, for me it's my left arm, up, and external rotation or bicep almost facing back, almost. And then exhaling, taking the arm out to the side, like along the horizon, turning the bicep down. So the arm bone does shift and glide in the socket. You can have your right hand on the leg or the ground, doesn't matter. Just letting the arm encourage a broader dynamism in our breath shape. Arm and the hand are very powerful tools. Shoulder, opening up our breathing. That's an open exploration, open in just learning how much you can turn and move that shoulder joint. Not in a hypermobility way, but just feeling the joint, feeling the degree of spaciousness in that joint, the connected structure to that area. We'll release. So I'm going to get I have a couple blocks. I'm just going to elevate my hands for ease. If you don't have two, you can use the ground or use the wall. So everything works for this. Everything works. You don't need blocks. I'm going to just prop up so everything's super easy. And it's a little, there's a little micro vinyasa in here that we're just going to take a quick look at. And the micro vinyasa is to help us in the, let's say, the macro. So I've got my hand planted on a block, bicep basically facing forward. And then exhaling. Is that internal rotation. So right now I'm just kind of passing my hand by my head. So simple. So inhale. There's a degree of that turning of the arm and the shoulder, just like I was taking my arm overhead. And as I exhale, I'm going to take a hand away. I'm just going to feel around for that internal rotation. How I had my arm out to the side. So the directions have shifted. The feeling has shifted. We'll just do a couple more. I'm just doing the left. May not feel like much is moving, and that's fine. So we're just turning objects in our mind our body, our mind, can be the yoga. So I'm going to do it the right side. And do you need the blocks? No, just makes it easy to be out. So, not doing anything twisty in the wrist, but I'm just imagining my arm overhead, arm out to the side. Just letting myself remember how the arm rotated. Letting that image kind of start to move and be felt in the arm in these two positions. My arms out in front of my chest on inhale. And I'm just passing my hand back on exhale, almost like I'm swimming through air. A couple more. Sometimes the challenging part of this imaginal work is wondering how much of the image should be translating into feeling. Sometimes it's barely anything, sometimes it's not yet, sometimes it's, oh, I get something new right away. And all these practices are just helping to conjure and it's kind of awaken new feeling perspective, bodily perspective. So I'm going to stick with the blocks. Again, you could do this at the wall. So if I had maybe, say, a shoulder injury, I'd do this at the wall or a chair or a couch. So I'm doing a little half chaturanga. So with my arms straight, my hands on the block, inhaling, and I'm actively feeling the bicep turn toward what would be the front of my mat, the narrow edge of my mat, and then exhaling, starting to image turn of bone as I just kind of lower, half lower, quarter lower. Now, we're going to link up 5 breaths. It's like a quarter of a push-up. It's like a half of a push-up. The physical amount of push-up doesn't matter. It's linking the rotation of the arm into this chaturanga move. That's the objective. So we'll just do a few. Inhale, bicep forward. Exhale. And more internal rotation. Again, it can just be a little eighth of a that's plenty. So that's our micro vinyasa for the moment. We could just leave the blocks off to the side. And when we set our left leg out, right leg bent, we're going to move into side bend. So inhaling, we'll take our right arm up. Now exhaling, moving the arm with the torso, with the waist. Inhale, take the arm up. Reaching out to the side, exhaling, passing that right hand behind back, linking up hand to thigh. Just like smooth movements of the eye through the visual field, we can create and enjoy smooth, fluid movement of the joints through our body field, through the room, through the environment. Sometimes it just takes taking on the perspective of the shoulder or the joint space. Now, if we orient from the space of the shoulder joint, now let's feel how that joint can feel fluid and open as we release this. I'm going to inhale, open the hand, reach the hand out to the side. I said hand, but the objective is feel shoulder. And exhale, relax that arm down. So just the little vinyasas and the bigger vinyasas. Let's change sides. So one of the things I'm just wanting to share is this week is the kind of the nature of the contractive mind and how it often co-opts in the body and even kind of shreds and disconnects our attention. So I'm going to use the quote-unquote the vinyasa, the orientation within our body to preserve that sense of fluidity and openness. So if we go side bend, inhale the left arm up. Yes, I'm turning the bicep, rotating or wrapping, whatever word you like. To move is to move. Exhaling, bringing in the ribs and the waist. Inhale, draw the arm up. Feel for the shoulder joint. What happens in the shoulder? Exhaling, turning the thumb down, passing the hand behind the back for that shoulder opener move. Just letting the fingertips find whatever. And if the attention jumped to, well, what will the hand grab? Just return back to the shoulder. As we get the jerky movements in our body, when our attention is kind of jumping around and elsewhere in the body or the room. If we're taking our orientation from the spaciousness around the left shoulder, opening, inhale. Reaching out, unwinding the arm, coming up. So now we'll set up some dolphin. Just fold the knees under our hips. Inhaling the hands under the shoulders. Exhaling, setting the elbows under the shoulders. There's a lot of extra turning of the arm bones here. So it might feel more wound up. Inhaling into the upper back. And exhale the knees off the floor. Maybe you can even image the subtle rotation of the ribs and the breathingness of the shoulder joint here. Gotten the joint kind of connected to that respiration movement. Is it possible that you're feeling the respiration of the joint right here in dolphin? Can you feel how the ribs open and move on the inhale, or the glide, or the shift within the shoulder joint? You feel the change of activation as you exhale, as it supports the moving again of the ribs. Give it just 2 or 3 more breaths. The shoulder's not it's a respiring joint. On these little rotations, these movements of the bone, they show up everywhere we're breathing. Set the knees down. Inhale the hands under the shoulders. And exhale, downward dog. And warrior 2. Inhale, right foot between the hands. And reach your arms out to side. And a little kitehawk. So as we inhale, the palms, biceps turn up. Same movements. As we exhale, the thumb, biceps shift down. Again, I'm saying the word hands. Those are some of the easiest things to spot. We're going to move from the shoulder blade. So inhaling. As the bicep turns up, you feel the muscles on the back of the shoulder blade condense and activate. As we exhale, raise the shoulder blade. Let those arm bones turn. For some of you, the movement of the chin down could be neck beneficial. A few more. So now in this position, you might feel that you can get a little bit more of your rib cage and spine, almost like unrolling and rolling a scroll. There's a little bit of that. Feel for that segmental action through the whole spine. There's kind of a top to bottom, almost scroll-like segmentalization, if you will. Let's give it a couple more breaths. You notice the tendency of the pelvis and the thigh bones to Start to get in on the game. So those aren't stationary, suffocating joints. Those are breathing joints too. That inhale will come up right. And exhaling, extended warrior variation, right forearm on the thigh. I'm going to hover the left hand over the hip. Now, if you find yourself still subtly rotating that left arm, that's perfectly fine. Kind of just letting the asana be a biological match to our breathing. You don't have to turn the arm from your brain. You might feel that there's almost kind of a hand, a movement just guiding your shoulder, and that's perfectly fine too. Inhale, slide the right hand down to the ground or block. Not for interlock, just deepening down, letting the ribs nestle against the thigh. Exhaling and reach with that left hand behind the back. You're not reaching for anything, just reaching out, opening the shoulder. Inhale, I'm just going to relax the reach. You might think of this as an empty-handed ostrich. So as I exhale, I'm going to rotate that bicep in, down, reach behind. And do this a few times. Inhale, I'm reaching the fingertips away from my skull, getting into the trapezius. And as I exhale, it's like I'm reaching for a half archer. I'm letting this biological breath movement match take precedent. One more. Release. Inhale, place the hands down under the shoulders. Exhale, we'll step back. You know what happens here. Exhale, we're lowering down. Look at how those shoulders, those Cadillac shoulders are gliding and sliding. Cobra. Inhale. Exhale, lower, downward dog. So you can just let your eyes settle on some place. You can close your eyes, but allow yourself to just notice if there's a kind of a respiring expansion and condensing in the shoulder girdle or in the ribs or in and around the head. This is all we're trying to do all day, every day, is just help some aspect of ourself remember its respiring, lively nature. Inhale, step the left foot forward, warrior two, reaching arms out to the sides. Both the arms are getting a little warm. And then exhale. We're working that little kitehawk move. The thumb turns down, the biceps turn down. Do a few more. I'm saying bicep, it's just an easy way to paint a general sense of what's happening. Moving from the shoulder blade, raising it, letting the glide of the shoulder joint be smooth. And as we do a few more, Start to feel the scroll-like unrolling and rolling, top to bottom of the ribs and the spine. Inhaling, we come back up. Extended warrior variation. Exhale, planting the left forearm on the thigh, hovering the right hand over the right thigh. I'm going to move as if into a half of an open-handed ostrich. So I'm going to slide this left hand down. You can prop it on a block. Now as I exhale, I'm doing that rotation. My bicep passes by the ribs. And then inhale, arcing the chest forward. As I exhale, I'm kind of swimming my arm into the space behind me, beyond the lat. Release. Inhale. Go hands under shoulders. If I'm not mistaken. Exhale. Here comes this lubricated, warmed up move. Exhaling chaturanga. Inhale, coming up. Say coming up generally, you'll decide. Exhale, downward dog. Gently set knees down or simply walk to standing. I want to show you the next move. I'm going to use a wall. Does one need to use a wall? No. One does not need a wall for this. To me, it's nice both ways. So, I don't know about you, but I'm warm from top to about the middle of my body. And I'm really looking forward to kind of segmentalizing and respiring through the rest of these joints. If our legs could do what our arms just did. And we do those movements all the time. Right? Things like pigeon or warrior, and then things like squeezing the roll, getting into the backside of the body. So the legs have this rotational using the wall. Again, you don't need to. I'm going to discover a spot on the wall And I don't mind placing my foot on. And I'm just going to do a little internal rotation. When I inhale, I'm just going to kind of release any rotation. As I exhale, I'm just going to pivot. So the pivot is kind of like heel out. I'm letting the forefoot almost kind of leave a little smudge. Really simple move. You may feel this quite a bit in the back. This is like an iteration of the one we did yesterday, the star spiral pulse. It's going to have that same rotational quality. So let's set up downward dog with or without a wall. We'll start with the left foot on the wall. We could start with any foot. I just said left. Try to mentally flip a coin and decide some days. Just letting you know, it's not a superstition to start with one side. I'm just going to let myself inhale, turn the biceps forward, expand through the ribs. And then as I exhale, my left foot, which is up, I'm going to just kind of let the heel move out, the whole thigh shifts. Now while I'm using the wall, just so my foot doesn't kind of fly around in space. So that would be a potential benefit, is it just lets you feel the foot kind of stationary so you can get the feel of that axis, the bones moving in a spiralic fashion. This is not intended to create any pinching feelings in the sacroiliac, the sacrum or the low back or left side of the pelvis whatsoever. If you feel something getting a little smushy, your foot, your left foot, may have drifted to the left. Simply dragging that foot nearer to your leg, your other leg, might remedy that. Just give it a few breaths. It's a new move. Just play with it. The rotation does not need to be hard. We're not going for maximal wind up. Just feeling how that rotation goes through the sacrum, maybe the back tissue. And then we'll release, setting the left foot down. We'll draw the right foot up. You don't have to be next to the wall. Just make it a very reachable wall point. As I inhale, just release any winding, any torsion of the foot. As I exhale, and release. So we use that internal rotation all the time, like we'll do when we step into Warrior 2 again. So let's move our mat away from the wall. What I like about some of these simple alternative moves is for a lot of our yoga poses, our hands are often kind of, they're freely moving around in space. Our feet are freely moving, and to take something quite known and to simply fix a spot on a wall or a ground can just completely change the inputs, the information. So warrior two, I have my right leg bent, or my right leg is front leg. And here we go. Here's the exhale left foot. Really play with that in that rotation. That's the exhale move we did at the wall. I'm going to start with the right forearm on the thigh and reaching the left arm overhead. So we're going to just do 2 iterations of extended warrior. As I exhale, I'm letting that left foot contact just kind of help me lengthen through that left side low back. As I inhale, I just kind of release a little bit of that pressure, kind of let the abdomen and the back and the tissues hydrate with that inhalation. And then exhaling, you feel the heel turning out. It's very soft. I'm just hinting. But just the hint can often be so profound in kind of opening up the low back. That's really why let's give it a couple more breath moments. Inhale, and bring the right hand down to the ground. You can put it on a block also. Inhale, hands under shoulders. Exhale, chaturanga. We'll just do this last side. Inhale. Broadening the chest coming up. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, left foot forward, warrior two. As I'm exhaling, I've got a feeling focusing on the right leg. It's having that rotating ability. I'm kind of using my hands just to help you see the direction. Internal rotation would go this way, as if I was pushing the heel out away from me and kind of drawing the toes in toward me. Extended variation, left forearm on the thigh, right arm reach up. In my opinion, a lot of us miss what this back leg can be doing through all of this back tissue, we'll say on the right side, because we're on this side of the pose. Feeling that star spiral pulse movement. Reach the heel, turn the toes, lengthen through the sacral lumbar fascia, lengthening through the right side of the back. And as you inhale, as coming off of that force, off of that, and then exhale, re-engaging, finding that rotation that lengthens and spreads these lower organs. And sometimes we just need to open the stance or change stance by inches. So now we'll take it from the ground, different dynamic. Inhale, we'll bring the left hand to the ground for extended warrior. Exhaling, staying with the heels. There's that little vinyasa. If you jumped out of the fascia in the foot, just come right back in. So all of these little transitions can be done from the perspective of the body, not just grabbing the ground or prop. I keep reaching through that right leg as I inhale, the hands to the ground. Is that reach of the right leg still supporting my back as I move for chaturanga? Exhale, the left foot back, lower. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, downward dog. Gently set the knees down. Boy, that gives us a lot of things for the whole rest of the week. I'm looking forward to unpacking all of this. Let's lie back for Shavasana. Contain my excitement. Important here is just letting ourselves feel again that the respiring quality of the body. This is like, in my opinion, the yoga version of Tai Chi today. But something interesting happens in the fluidizing and the remembering of the fluid nature of the bones, joints, the waters of the body. Feel how the respiration influences and supports the bones. Why the bones? They're just nice, dense landmarks that are fairly easy to sense in this gelatinous, cellular fluid contained physical field. But remember that all of these cells of our body, all these bones, they're in suspension. The organs are subject to move and shift. The bones subject to move and shift. This is all happening in suspension, a highly relative ecosystem, highly relational. And as we deepen in and in and down and in and down and in, we find these more universal linkages. Respiration, expanding and condensing. Pulsating aliveness. It's interesting how as we deepen into our practice, we tend to move from the particularity to the universal, yet also the more relative to the more absolute. When you're ready, bend knees. Turn to a side, and press to seated. Namaste.